Hey everyone, happy Thursday and welcome to Virtual Vegfest Live. I am so happy to be well enough to be back to host the show. Thank you to Kimberly and to Kayla for Saturday because there was no way that I felt well enough. I kind of got a stomach virus and it really wipes you out. So I am back and very happy because Carol's with us today from Fanimal, and it's going to be a really fun conversation. But first, let's talk about thank you to Shroom Meats, one of our newest sponsors of Virtual Veg Fest Live, for being our sponsor this month and for being one of our 6 prize packs that you can win by entering our contest. Simply go to virtualvegfest.com and click the contest tab and click the link and do things like subscribe to the Virtual Vegfest YouTube and get 25 entries to win one of 6 prize packs. Oh, someone has an angry face. Why was there an angry face? Someone tell me why. that makes me sad. So, let's see. Hodo Foods, Crafters Organics, Follow Your Heart, Orgain, Shroom Meats, and Cinnaholic are all donating prize packs to Virtual Veg Fest so that you can win them, and you have the whole month of May to enter. We've picked our April winners, but I'm waiting for one more to get back to me who has an email, and then I'll let everyone know what they won, and I'll post something about that. But for now, we're going to talk Fanimal, local to Raleigh, which is awesome, and Carol Kline, the founder of Fanimals, with us. She's also an educator, and you're just going to learn so much today, especially if you have children. It's really important that you pay attention to this conversation because there's like the Fanimal kids. There's so much stuff. So let's go grab. And also thank you to Plant Based Network for being a strategic partner with Virtual Veg Fest. Hey, Carol.
Hey.
How are you?
Hi. Great.
That's awesome.
So happy to be here.
Oh, me too. Me too. And I am so glad. So, to give a little background for everybody, and this I didn't know, Carol had to remind me of it. Like 3 years ago, I think I hosted a comedy show at the Mason Street Manor, and Carol attended it. And next thing I know, fast forward to this year. Is it this year or is it last year? I don't even know.
The end of last year.
End of last year, I get an email from the newsletter that we have, and Carol's like, "Hey, I'd love to talk to you. We're both local, and I have Fanimal, and I met you at the comedy show." And I was like, I normally remember people, but I was like, I don't remember. So, but that was okay because what's kind of transpired since like the end of last year is a budding friendship, a business relationship. Oh, that you froze for a second. I'm glad you're back. And we get to learn all about Fanimal, and here you are. So let's tell everyone who Carol is and what Fanimal is and what type of education, everything. Go for it.
Absolutely. And I froze right then because you said you didn't remember me, and it just like shook me to my core. Uh, yeah, and so I want to get back to that meeting because there, not only did you and I meet during that time, but I also met Cam F. Awesome, and he now serves on the advisory council of Fanimal, and so I want to give him a shout out. But I'll introduce myself first, as you. I teach up at Appalachian State University in Boone, North Carolina, and I am an educator. I am a tourism professor. And a lot of times people hear that and they're like, "You're a what?" And so tourism is a worldwide form of economic development. It's actually one of the largest forms of economic development, depending on who you ask. And North Carolina has a very thriving tourism industry. The type of tourism that I have always taught and worked in and ascribed to be a part of is sustainable tourism. And that comes into play. That's going to connect with animals and with food systems the more we talk about tourism. And so I've been an educator since 1990 early. And when I saw the age of 50 approaching, I kind of was, I was took aback. And And I thought, animals have been a love of mine for all of my life. And I have gotten to work with some farmers. I've gotten to work with some artists. I've gotten to work with some wonderful people in rural North Carolina and outside of rural North Carolina. But I have not really done anything in my professional life relative to animals. I've always had pets. I've been vegetarian for many, many years, almost 3 decades. Vegan for about 3 years now. Have donated to charities, but just it wasn't enough. And so the first thing I did, Helene, was I really took a look at how I could transform my academic job into something focusing more on animals. And I started going to conferences, not tourism conferences like I had been, but conferences about animal studies. And I started meeting really, really smart people, animal ethicists, animal philosophers, people who do animal law, people who study animal and art. And I just started soaking in all the information that I could. I'm new to the animal studies field. And it's such a joy to meet not just academics, who are so brilliant, doing wonderful work in animal studies, but practitioners who are doing such great work in NGOs. So that led me to pivot in my research. And now for the last, I would say 5 to 7 years, I've been doing research on animal welfare and tourism. I'm really, really fortunate up at Appalachian State that I can teach a class once a year called Animals, Tourism, and Sustainability. And, when you think about travel, animals figure into tourism quite a bit. We ride them. They're part of our transportation. Sometimes they pull carts. They are unfortunately a large part of our entertainment. Sometimes captive entertainment. We go to see them. We go on wildlife safaris, photographing trips. We eat them. Animals can be an iconic part of a destination, whether it's a culinary dish or part of just the identity of a place. And animals work for us. So, as I said, they carry our gear. They're part of recreation. They're part of environmental education. So that was great. Within my academic world, I can now talk about animals, but it just was only in my academic part of my life. And so I wanted to go beyond that. I started Fanimal about 3 years ago. We're a nonprofit. We are located in North Carolina, but we work worldwide. And in fact, if you go to our website, which is fanimal.online, you'll be able to see our board, our advisory council, some of our former fellows, some of our former interns, and you'll see that they are within the United States, but we have a very nice global representation as well.
Oh, that's awesome. I was just typing in the website and I can get it right there. So it's awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, super, super impressed with everything that you've done and where you've taken Fanimal, which you didn't delve into as much. So I would love to go deeper into Fanimal not if possible. We're going to go deeper into Fanimal because it's incredibly important, and to touch on some of the stuff about animals and tourism. And do you, when you're in class and you're talking about animals and tourism and sustainability, do you talk about the negative impact on the animals?
Yeah, you have to. Unfortunately, within the tourism industry, I would say there's probably more negative to talk about than positive. 2 years ago, not last year, COVID, 2 years ago, in 2019, I was fortunate enough to lead a study abroad trip to Costa Rica, and we did some work with sea turtles and sea turtle conservation. And we did some citizen science. And this trip was a trip through Appalachian State University, but we booked it with Animal Experiences International. Fantastic B Corp that does volunteer tourism with animals all over the world. And so the type of tourism that they do, because that's all that they are specialized in that. I don't want to say that's all they do, but because that sounds like they specialize in global experiences where you can go and volunteer and help animals. And that's the good side of tourism and animals. But yes, we talk a lot about the negative sides, and not just from an animal welfare standpoint, because it's certainly easy to talk about that, but environmentally, sometimes there's a lot of social distortion done by the tourism industry to try to sell more experiences. The tourism industry might amplify the importance of eating a certain type of animal, for example, to gain a local experience. And it's just simply not that big of a part of local culture. However, it's marketed a little bit more than it should be in order to sell more. So yes, we do talk a lot about disproportionate benefits that only go to certain members of the community and not the entire community. We do have to talk a lot about the negative impacts. And I tell my students, I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, but in order to know how to do the best type of tourism, to be the best planners and the best managers possible, we have to be aware of what to avoid.
Yeah, so I was hoping that you had the freedom to go there.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, it's not high school, so I mean, it's college. You've created the course, right?
Right. Yeah. And I guess what I try to be mindful of is there are, we've heard a lot more about climate change within the last, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And there are a lot of big problems in the world, and our students are very savvy. College students, are very, very savvy. I don't mean Appalachian State, they are. I don't mean United States, they are. But college students these days are very aware, much more aware than I was when I was in college. And so what I try to be mindful of is not to only talk about the negative impacts and only talk about the major challenges in the world, but to equip them to be critical thinkers, to provide some tools to provide ways of thinking about resilience, both for themselves as someone who's going out in the world the way it is and how to navigate the world, but also how to make positive contributions to the world.
No, that's fantastic and important. I mean, I'm hoping, another hope that I have is that the class is full. Yeah,
Absolutely.
That's what it was like. It's like full class with a waiting list. Awesome. Need to do a second one.
It is a really fun class to do.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I appreciate the fact that you did that, and also that it was your like stepping stone to, because like words, I'm probably not gonna have a lot of them this week, to Fanimal, to wanting to do more,
Right.
to be more involved, to once again educate even more people than just in the classroom and the students that come through every year.
That's true. That's true. And when I think about that class, Helene, you would be a perfect guest speaker because you could talk about Vegfests and how people travel to Vegfest. That's another example of how animals are indirectly tied into tourism. So I'm going to put you down for a session.
I would love that. I absolutely love public speaking. I love being in front of a classroom. I've been in front of a classroom. So I was like, I'll just have to create something, or I'll just do it off the cuff.
Yeah. So as a professor, one of the perks is that we get to travel to conferences when there is enough money in the budget. And, North Carolina certainly has had a lot of lean budget years, as many universities have worldwide. But I go to conferences, I hear these wonderful, smart, brilliant people talking, and I think, oh, if only people could hear Carol Adams. Oh, if only people could hear Bob Fisher. Oh, if only people could hear these wonderful people speaking, they would think about animals the way you and I think about animals. Right. And so it is a long-term strategy of Fanimal to hopefully take information that is only accessible through conferences and means like that, and bring it down and bring it to a palatable, short, video-like format, perhaps interviews. We've been working on some of these behind the scenes. They're not quite ready for prime time, but to do exactly what you're doing through Virtual Vegfest.
Oh, that's awesome. Highly recommended. It's great to help spread the word. And if you're not a fan of live, but you have someone to edit, yeah, even better, because the editing part is the really hard part. It's why I like going live. We don't edit anything. We just go through the struggles of live sometimes, and you just kind of go, well, if things mess up, well, we're live. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Well, and one thing about Fanimal that I want to mention that sort of ties the two together between the academia and then the nonprofit is last summer, as we all know, our lives were very, very different. And one of the jobs that I have at the university is to help students have meaningful internships. And our internships happen between their junior and senior year. And obviously, there were not a lot of places for our hospitality and tourism students to go have internships. We were able to pivot and provide a different type of meaningful experience. But it did make me think about all of the environmental studies, environmental policy, animal studies students that were probably experiencing the same thing. Last summer, Fanimal was able to host 16 interns from all over the United States. And it was a wonderful experience. It's so much fun being around these bright young people. And the reason why I bring that up, we also have a fellowship program, which is shorter. It's 12 weeks. It's fewer hours. There's a stipend that comes with that fellowship program. But the reason why I bring up the internship program is because I am an educator. I feel like I can talk to the professors on the other end and say, no, I know what is required to give a good internship experience. And so we were fortunate enough to host 3 interns this spring, and we're on tap to have about 7 or 8 this summer.
No, that's fantastic. I just saw the post on your Facebook page highlighting the spring interns. So,
nice.
Yeah, no, that was actually wonderful. One was from New York, one from North Carolina, and I don't know, what's the other one was from where?
Florida.
Florida, there you go. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, no, I know you know exactly how to, interns are fantastic. It's a great learning experience for the student, right? And business-wise, it's important to understand that and apply real world to your college education, because your college education, as much as it's important, is not real world.
Right. That's right. It's not the same thing. And it's hard to manage volunteers. And so interns are something different from volunteers. And as you just mentioned and alluded to, the intern, it's a responsibility to provide a meaningful experience for the intern. And a lot of times people take on interns because it just sounds good to maybe have an extra person, an extra set of hands, but to provide a really meaningful experience is difficult. And I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, but I do work very, very hard at it. And I hope I've gotten good feedback, but I hope to always continue to strive to get better and better.
Yeah, well, an intern, there's a different side to a volunteer. A volunteer is just out of the goodness of their heart taking some time, and it could be anywhere from 10 minutes to, forever in providing help with whatever you need, from, showing up at an event and working a booth to editing videos and everything in between. An intern has a responsibility towards a class and a grade that is required to graduate from their program. I had to do an internship to graduate my bachelor's degree, and I went and worked for a small business, right? So more flexibility there, but this man was running his business out of his garage, so I worked and learned a lot from him at that moment in time. So the interns need to learn because it could actually steer them in the direction of where they go for the rest of their lives potentially. That's a huge deal. Or it could just steer them away from what they're doing because you don't want to be miserable. I think I would love to touch on that. It's completely different from Fanimal. We'll get back to Fanimal, but the importance, because education is incredibly important to me, and making your choices that you're happy with, because it's something you're going to do every single day for a very long time. You want to be happy with it. It's not going to be happy every day, but overall, you need to want to get up every day to do it. Your life will be dramatically different and drastically different if you're waking up every day hating what you've chosen to do. And that word chosen, choice, means that you can choose something else.
That's right. That's right. And that internship is so key. And you mentioned this, that I tell my interns directly, you may hate your internship. You may go in thinking you're going to love being a wedding planner, and you're going to find out it's terrible. And that's going to be a really important use of your time, because it's better that you spend 10 weeks, 12 weeks doing that than to try to go in that career direction and wind up very, very unhappy. The other correlation to what you said, it's not just about what you do, it's the environment that you do it in. And, you and I have worked long enough that we've worked in some fantastic environments that where we thrive. And then some environments that are very constrictive or just not for us. I like to tell my students, of course, they don't really listen, but I like to tell my students that it'd be great if they could work in a public setting, like a government setting, a nonprofit setting, and private. Try all three sectors of the economy, because there's positives and negatives to each, and it's really what fits your personality and your mode of operation the best.
Yeah, like I interviewed for a job in Manhattan. It's the only time I took a job and like commuted to the city. And I went to this law office, which was like in Columbus Circle, and upstairs, beautiful conference room, the whole interview process, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, I had 2 different job offers at the time, and I took this one. It was like they wanted me. They really wanted me, threw more money at me. And I was like, okay, first day I go in, and I'm not going upstairs to that beautiful office. I was in the basement, and the
Okay.
manager, because I was the assistant manager, the manager came over and told me how my desk had to be set up, where things needed to be on it.
Hmm.
And yeah, and I think you know where this goes. Just a little bit of my personality. I was like, I'm not traveling into the city for this. I think I lasted 2 weeks before I was like, see ya, I'm not doing this. And of course, I lost out on the other job, which was for in the music industry, doing the same type of work, but in the music industry, which was down in the village, completely different field, probably more aligned with me. I learned lessons that day of money is not always the reason to make decisions. It actually, for me, is not a reason to make decisions. It never goes well when I do. And to ask more questions, to walk through the space that you're going to be working in, so that you know what you're stepping into the day that you get there. Because they never brought me downstairs. They completely ignored that part. And ask questions about the person who's going to be your boss. Do you micromanage? It's a very fair question to ask of someone who is a manager. And if they can't answer that, or they evade, or you get the feeling of this person's going to control my life, every single piece of it, for me, that's a run the other way. Just be gone.
Right.
But
That's
these are
right.
things you learn these as you
Try
interview
things out.
and you work. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then you work for yourself, and then you don't have to deal with that anymore.
Autonomy is a very nice thing in a work environment, and supportive colleagues and partners.
Oh, exactly. Incredibly important. And there's always going to be people where you work who are a pain in the ass. There's always going to be people in a movement that are a pain in the ass. And you have to make that decision of, do you strive to get along, or do you separate and just keep the peace? We can all work towards a movement of a healthier world and planet and animals and people's health, and not all like one another, because we're not going to. We're human beings. We don't all like one another. There are people that you just don't jive with, and that's normal. It just keep moving forward with this movement. This is so funny. This is like so applicable to my life. So it's like, oh, recent times. I mean, that tends to come out in this like therapy session sometimes, these live talks. But it's incredibly important that you continue to move forward and you do the right thing. Be able to put your head down at night and go to sleep, and not be stressed out about what you did or your actions or words that you said that day. If you can do that, then you're doing something right. And if you can work for yourself and deal with the stress and struggles with that, if you have that personality, do it. If you don't, it's okay to work for somebody else. There's a lot less stress there, and you're guaranteed a paycheck. That's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And either way, keeping your eye on those long-term goals of, why you're doing it in the first place, and not getting lost in the details. But just remembering the importance of what you're trying to do, at least.
Exactly. And hopefully being able to do something that lends itself to those values, or being able to bring it into, like you did, I think that makes all the difference. And then start a nonprofit.
Well, we're right in the middle of our fundraising drive. We're not even right in the middle of it. We're just starting it. And so having a nonprofit is fantastic. And, it hits all of the things that we talked about: the autonomy, the values driven work, the partnerships, the collaboration, the creativity. So much fun. But having a nonprofit, you are not guaranteed the income, right? You don't have the tax dollars to support your funding. You don't have some of the overhead that a larger corporation might provide. And the downside is having to ask your friends to donate to a cause that you are excited about. And so, that's its own challenge, but it's part of it. So I hope that everyone watching the show now and in the future will go to fanimal.online, be impressed, and look at all of the things that we are accomplishing and want to accomplish, and consider donating any amount at all to help us continue to mentor our fellows, our interns, and provide advocacy for all of the ages. So, I could tell you about Junior Fanimal too. That is a program that we're starting for younger kids.
Yeah, I think first I would delve deeper into what Fanimal is.
Yeah.
Right? And then we'll go to Junior Fanimal, which I think is brilliant.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when Fanimal was created, the idea was, first of all, to add our voice to the animal protection movement. The more voices, the louder it is, the more impact that we can have. So certainly we wanted to do that. But we also wanted to look at some of the gaps that we were seeing and try to fill those gaps. For example, a lot of people who love animals can identify with the fact that when they were a little person, they wanted to be a vet, because that's the career that's naturally publicly associated with animals. And then if you're like me, you get a little older and you realize, oh, you're not so medically inclined. And or you might realize that you don't want to deal with some of the sadder parts of that profession. And, back when I was thinking about career choices, we didn't have cool majors like environmental policy or animal studies, or maybe if we did, I just wasn't paying attention. And so even throughout the years, though, as the decades have progressed on, and I've been able to meet lots of students throughout my years, there's still a lot of young people who love animals, but they just don't know where to channel that in a professional sense. And so they have a pet. Maybe they try not to eat animal products, and that's kind of where it ends. And so Fanimal would like to, first of all, be advocates to empower people to know how to change daily actions to either directly impact animals or indirectly impact animals by the everyday choices we make that can affect the environment. Secondly, we want to provide early and mid-career individuals a place where they can go and learn about animal careers. And those could be directly hands-on animal careers, or they could be indirect, where you're influencing environmental policy. We want people to learn about all of the different choices. Vegan education, animal sanctuary manager. There are so many different professions. Professor, on our website, we have a section where our interns and our fellows do career interviews. And there's a professor who is a communications professor, but she works with equine therapy and how horses work with different ability individuals and how they communicate with one another. So there's so many different careers, and Fanimal would like to help people find those careers and explore, but also network. Learn how to network. Learn how to do some professional skills like interviewing someone on Zoom. Do video editing, even written and interpersonal communication. We just want to provide early in mid-career people these options to flex those muscles, learn some skills, and network within animal protection and environmental studies. So right. That's a little bit, right?
That's it's a lot, and it's pretty awesome because a lot of people do have that one question of, I want a vegan job, I want to work in the vegan world, I want to save animals, I want to do my animal activism and get money so I can survive doing it. And, you kind of fill in some of those pieces of what's out there, what could be out there, what can be created, what, pull the people together. And that's actually really cool because obviously Fanimal, fan of animals, is, the foundation for everything that you're doing. Now the Junior Fanimal is even cooler because you get to the kids, you plant the seeds like really early.
We try. And what we want to do is we want to foster that love that so many kids naturally have for animals. We want to foster it. We don't want them to grow out of it, which sometimes happens. We have animal career coloring pages, which isn't just for kids. Helene, you can color, right? It's cool for adults. But they focus on different types of animal careers. And we have some other coloring pages that focus on ecosystems. We have infographics that are, very informative to kids, either about animals. We have like a series on insects. We have a series on the big cats. But then we have some more serious topics. Not that big cats aren't serious, but about like the supply chain and how animals are used in different types of supply chains, like cosmetics and entertainment. And so we try to present those in graphic, bright forms that draw people in. Again, some of our resources are for kids and adults. But Junior Fanimal is a program that it's an activity-based program where kids can earn badges based on activities that they do to help animals. And we have different categories of these activities. We have educational, we have creative, we have physical, we have volunteer, we have fundraising. And each time a kid completes an activity, they get a badge. And right now, we have these wonderful, they're awesome. They're paper, right? They're old school. They're paper. They're digital, and you get a colored version, and then you get a black and white version. I guess we're really into coloring, so that you can color in your own badge. And at the end, when you're done with all 7 of your activities, you get your Junior Fanimal badge, and then you get some prizes, some physical prizes mailed to you that, of course, have to do with animals.
Yeah, and this is like every time we talk about it, it always just brings me back, or it brings me back to elementary school, to something I didn't like, but it just reminds me of it was the reading levels, which we've spoken about multiple times. And the reading levels, they were color coded, and you'd have to go to the reading thing, you'd have to pull it out of the section, and you'd have to read it, and then you'd have to get through that level to get to the next color. And this just reminds me, it's almost comforting how it reminds me of that from childhood. Even though it wasn't something I remember enjoying from childhood,
Mm-hmm.
obviously it stuck with me enough
Right.
that I equate it to this. And it's like really cool for the kids to go through the Fanimal, Junior Fanimal program and maybe find their inspiration for what they want to do moving forward. Because if I remember from elementary school that, then the kids will definitely remember what they learn and experience through the Junior Fanimal program. I have absolutely no doubts about that. Whatever that seed is, they might not even realize it until they get older, but it could be a driving force for them from that point forward as well.
Gosh, I hope you're right, Helene. We piloted the program last year, and we did it, in COVID. We did it in this Zoom environment, and we have 2 very talented environmental educators, Sarah and Jenna, who led this program. But again, it was piloted. Wasn't public at the time. One of the and this is not just in the United States. We had a participant in South Africa. We had a participant in Mexico City, and Isa was a participant in Mexico City. When we finished the program, we were doing an evaluation of the program, both with the parents and with the kids. We evaluate everything in Fanimal. It's just, again, part of that kind of academic thing that I have to do. And Isa said that she now believes that she wants to be a herpetologist when she grows up. And so, that just, I love telling that story. I think, that made Sarah and Jenna's year, decade. And we hope to have more impact like that. Last year, we did it on that Zoom format. This year, we are testing 2 new formats. We're going to be recording these activities so that students can watch the video recording and complete the activity, upload the activity, and get the badge that way. Upload it on the Fanimal site. Maybe one day in the future, we'll have a Junior Fanimal app that you and I have talked about somewhat. And then the second format is in the fall. We want to go into the classrooms. We are looking for 5 classrooms, 5 teachers that will let us come into their classroom once a week for 7 weeks, and we will talk to the kids about these activities. Sarah and Jenna will also talk with the teachers one-on-one once a week to help the teachers guide the students through these activities. But we would like to do this in the fall because we know we can reach that many more kids to help foster these pro-animal animal protection behaviors.
6th grade?
It's 8 through 12 age range.
So yes, 6th
So
grade.
yes.
I'm gonna hook you up.
Third through 6th grade, right? Is that the
12
math?
12 is probably 7th grade.
Okay.
Yeah, so I know a 6th grade science teacher in Heritage Middle, which is a great school, and I will definitely reach out to him. His wife's a teacher too. younger, I think. But I want to hook you up with him because I feel like he'd be receptive to this. I know the school would be, because Heritage is actually, even though Wake County, all the schools should be the same, is pretty progressive. And the students are brilliant. The students are already brilliant. Yeah, they just are. They're highly motivated kids. I couldn't believe it, but they're all highly motivated. So I think they would love this, and to have that opportunity to go in like once a week for, you know, a number of weeks or whatever it is. I feel like I can help facilitate that, you know.
That's amazing. Yeah, and you know, we can work in any time zone. It can be anywhere in the world. We the more the merrier. That would be fantastic. Thank you, Helene.
Oh, you're welcome. I also want to help you with a fundraiser, but I think you already knew that. Somehow, some way, we need to do something different, you know.
I'll be in a dunking booth. I mean, whatever it takes to raise money for Fanimal. I'm there. I'll do it.
Okay. I was something. And also like joining forces with Shape Up with Jill Steinbeck from Shape Up.
Yes.
Another amazing organization, Shape Up Us, and her programs and her events.
Yes.
I mean, I feel like there's definitely like there is an opportunity there to all of us to pull together and do more for educating children, which if anyone has watched this consistently knows that's a really important thing to me. I have a master's in education and school counseling. It's a priority to me that kids grow up healthy and have a good environment. And if we can plant seeds about taking care of the planet and their health and help parents to feed and raise children in a healthy manner, it only helps them to have a foundation for their adulthood that's way healthier and leaps and bounds ahead of what we had.
Absolutely. And you know, part of that foundation is being a secure, confident, empowered young person. And that's hard. That is very hard. And this is where I think would be a great place to do a shout out for, you know, Cam F. Awesome. He will, into COVID now, you know, he used to do this in person and hopefully will again soon. But he has these Zimblies, right? Zoom assemblies. These Zimblies where he goes into high school, community college, junior high, you know, all ages, younger as well, and talks about life skills, talks about these very important lessons that he's learned, talks about how to make an impact, talks about how to be kind. He really he gives more important information than, you know, I would say I do, talking about hospitality and tourism, or, you know, talking about animals. He really cuts to the core of people's character, excuse me, and provides his life skills. So Cam F. Awesome Zimbly. If I were a educator, I would want to bring him into my school.
Yeah, and he also likes to go into parts of the city where there's more need and go and help, because he's a professional boxer. So and he will go and do some training, and he likes to do all that. And kids can look up to him, like literally, because he's really tall. And but he's one of the bees. You know, I pick up a lot of our speakers for our events at the airport, right? And like I picked up Gene Bauer, I picked up Ellen Jeffy Jones, and there's nothing against them. But when Cam came out of the airport, I kind of lost my breath for a second, because he's a really attractive man. And I was like, oh. So yeah, and he's funny, and he's
so down to earth and approachable and easy to talk to. Absolutely.
Exactly. Yes, because he's been part of a few of our events in multiple cities. So
and very talented. Obviously, it goes without saying how talented he is, and he works in the discussion about animals and veganism in a way that, you know, is easy.
Yes, exactly. Last I checked, he was living in a van. He decided to go travel. Is he back
He's got
in
a
St.
house.
Louis, or is he? I think St. Louis.
He's got a house now with a roof and everything.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic. I'm really glad to hear that. Well, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Is there anything else about Fanimal that you want to share besides the fact that everyone should donate?
Well, everyone should donate. Um, any amount. Uh, I would mention our fellowship programs. We've been so fortunate to have young people from all over the world. We had an initial group. We've had 3 cycles of our fellowships. And the reason why I get so excited about our fellowships is we created this fellowship program because, again, young people who want to get into wildlife conservation or some sort of animal field, it really is tough because they have to volunteer for many, many years, before they can actually apply for an entry-level job, especially in something like wildlife conservation. And that's unfortunate because now you're in a position where you have to be in a privileged situation, right? Not everyone can afford to volunteer for many, many years. And so the Fanimal stipend is not much. It's only $500 for about 50 hours of work. It ends up coming out to $10, $11 an hour. But we're very proud that we can offer anything at all for our fellows, because we don't like the idea of taking advantage of young talent that way, and we don't like the idea of pricing out people who could be amazing in the field, but they might be working 2 jobs while they're going to college or something like that. So our fellowship program, I would also love for everyone to know about that, because that's another opportunity to explore careers, learn new skills, and network.
Exactly. And that would be, they find more about that on the website.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
All right,
Yep.
that's absolutely, that's perfect. And it's important to say that you're a fellow. That's like really cool.
And it's good alliteration. I like alliteration, so Fanimal Fellows.
Oh, that's good too. But I
Yeah.
mean, like, be a fellow. I mean, it makes me think about getting a doctorate and getting the little hat.
It's fancy. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fancy. I could have worn my doctorate hat. That would have been distracting.
The doctorate hat. I think about getting a doctorate just for the hat.
I'll let you borrow mine.
Yeah, that, and also my brother calling me doctor. My brother's a lawyer. I'd be like,
No.
ah, I'm higher educated. So if I did that, which I'm not, because I don't have the inclination or desire, and don't want to add any more debt to my world.
Yeah.
That would be the reason. And I don't know what I would do with it. That's the whole thing.
You have found the perfect niche for you. You are doing you. And Helene, you are so talented. We were talking about how talented Cam are. You are so talented. And all of the balls that you juggle and all of the people that you pull together, I am so grateful to you for the folks that you have networked me with, and everything that I have learned from you thus far. And we haven't even, been working together very long, and I'm already just so bowled over by your generosity and kindness, and everything that you do in the animal protection space.
Thank you. Like, really, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate that. I do my best. Like I said, I'm not perfect, but I can lay my head down at night and go to sleep and know that I did something good, most likely that day. Whatever it is, I definitely know by how I ate. So if at a minimum I've got that. So and typically it's more, as long as I'm not stuck with a stomach virus and just sleeping. So, but really, Carol, this has been fantastic. It went in a direction that, see, we don't know where it's going to go, but it's something really close to my heart. So I really appreciate that. If someone wanted to reach out to you and contact you, how would they do that?
The easiest thing to do is go to the Fanimal.online website. We have our social media links on there, but we also just have a real easy, way to link to an email. hello@fanimal.online. That comes straight to me. I'm Carol@fanimal.online. And I think that's probably the easiest way.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That makes it. I'm hoping that I put the words in right. We'll see in a second. And I didn't just go the .com because.
Right. Yeah,
All right.
dot on.
I did it
Yeah.
right. I did it right.
We're
Okay.
we're on Facebook. We are on Twitter. We are on Instagram. And coming in the fall, we will have a YouTube channel as well.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So Fanimal_online, right?
Uh,
On
uh,
social, on
uh,
Instagram and on
no, it's
Instagram.
different things. It's different things. It's like Fanimal_Inc.
Inc. It's Inc. That's it.
Yeah.
Inc. On Twitter and on Instagram. It's Fanimal_Inc.
Yeah, and honestly, the easiest way the way I always get to link it is through the website. Just the icons.
All right, made it easy.
There you go.
Right.
Thank you.
Oh,
Perfect.
no problem. Well, thank you so much for spending some of your afternoon with me. I really appreciate it and getting to know you a little bit better and having everyone get to know what you do because that's incredibly important.
Thank
And
you.
hopefully some fundraising dollars for what you do and some idea that we can come up with. I actually might have an idea we can talk about afterwards
Oh, excellent.
about for fundraising. You brought something up that I think we can maybe do something with, and it would be completely different than anything that I've ever done. And that's important. So we want to be different when we're going to do an event. And
Okay.
I have an idea. So thank you
Excellent.
so much. And I will definitely talk with you soon. Like
Helene,
really
thank
soon.
you so much for this opportunity.
Oh, you're welcome. Bye, Carol.
Bye.
Well, thank you again for joining me for Virtual Vegfest Live, our Thursday edition. We are back on Sunday, which is Mother's Day this week, at 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. It's intentionally on Sunday. Why? Because we've got Carmen and Greg Pope from the Farm of the Free Sanctuary. And I felt Mother's Day is a great day to talk with someone or talk with them, because they are saving lives sanctuary for all the animals that they have that they take care of, and they're out of Georgia. So I hope if you don't know of them that you look them up, the Farmer the Free Animal Sanctuary. They are fantastic. And that will be Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Other than that, I hope all of you have a really good Mother's Day if it's something that you celebrate. And if it's a difficult day, I hope that you get through it quickly. So please wear a mask still. Or a National Vegfest mask. Yep. Make sure you wear a mask correctly. Make sure your nose is covered. We're pro-vaccination here at Virtual Vegfest and Triangle Vegfest. Really would like everyone to get vaccinated because then we can hug, which is fantastic, and we can be around one another and breathe each other's air and have less risk of dying and getting seriously ill. Big fan. And that, be kind, be nice to one another, and we will see you on Sunday. Thanks so much. Bye.